It is often said that peace is disturbed by others, that our serenity is stolen by the chaos someone else brings into our lives. But in truth, no one has the power to disturb you unless you hand that power over willingly. When someone speaks with poison in their voice, what enters you is not their poison, it is your response to it. So the real battlefield is not outside, it lies within. And the first step is to reclaim that battlefield. When you understand this, you no longer fear toxic people. You no longer run from them, and you no longer fight them either. Because what disturbs you is not their presence, but your own resistance. Resistance is tension, and tension is suffering. So the practice is not to resist, but to observe. And in that observation, you stay rooted in your own stillness. Like the mountain that does not flinch when storms come and go. At the Shaolin temple, we are taught not just physical forms, but internal alignment. This means aligning your energy so that others cannot enter with their negativity. If you are not open to them, they cannot penetrate. Their words, their emotions, their anger like arrows falling on stone, they break. But this only happens when you become solid inside. And solidity comes from self-awareness. So the first practice is this. When someone tries to disturb your peace, do not react. Observe instead. Let the energy pass like a wave crashing against the shore. You are not the wave. You are the shore. You do not move. You remain. This is where true power begins, not in controlling others, but in mastering your own state. There is a way to become untouchable by hiding, not by fighting, but by rising above. The wise do not escape toxic people. They transcend them. And that transcendence comes from one single act, choosing not to participate in the emotional chaos others offer. Every time someone throws anger, gossip, or manipulation your way, they are handing you a rope. If you take it, you are tied to their madness. If you do not, you are free. We often make the mistake of believing that confrontation is strength, but strength is not always loud. True strength is often quiet. It is the quiet refusal to engage in what brings no peace. It is the quiet knowing, this energy does not belong to me. And when you know that, you become like water flowing, untouched, unstoppable. You are no longer at the mercy of moods and moods of others. The practice is simple, but difficult. Do not take the bait. Toxic people thrive on reaction. Your silence, your calm, your non-responsive frustrates them, but it frees you. When they cannot hook you with drama, you become irrelevant to their games. And this is when they stop. Because toxic energy only survives when it has something to feed on. Remove your attention, and they starve. So how do you do this once and make it last? By making a deep commitment in your inner world that your peace is not negotiable. You decide today, now that your energy is yours to guard, that your soul is not available for rent to every argument, every insult, every wounded person trying to wound you. This decision is like closing the gates of the temple. Once closed, only peace may enter. In life, most people are led by their emotions. Like leaves blown by the wind, they are moved by anger, swayed by praise, shaken by criticism. But in Shaolin teaching, we do not move unless it is with intention. The mind is still, the body follows. This is the essence of discipline, not in control of others, but in command of yourself. When toxic people try to provoke you, they expect a reaction. But when none comes, you have already won. To not react is not weakness. It is a higher strength. It means you have risen above the battlefield and now observe from the mountaintop. This distance gives you power. You can see clearly what they cannot. That their words come from pain, not power. That their chaos is not personality, is a projection. And so, You become immune, not because you resist them, but because you understand them. In a room full of loud voices, the quiet one holds the most presence. Why? Because silence carries weight. It reflects mastery. When you stop defending yourself against every attack, you stop being their opponent. You dissolve the game, and in that silence, you lead not by force, but by example. Your peace speaks louder than their provocation. This is the shift that changes everything, from reaction to reflection, from being pulled into other storms to staying in the calm center of your own energy. It is not something you do once with words. It is something you decide once in your heart. A vow: I do not react to chaos, remain the calm. When this becomes your natural state, toxic people no longer know where to find you. When people speak with bitterness or judgment, we often try to fix them. We explain, we argue, we plead. But this is like cleaning the reflection in a mirror instead of the mirror itself. The real work is within. When something triggers you, it reveals something about you, not about them. And this is the uncomfortable truth most avoid, that toxic people are our teachers too. We are humble enough to see it. There is a saying, he who angers you controls you. But what if, instead of being controlled, you used that anger as a path inward? Instead of changing them, you change your attachment to needing their approval, their apology, their kindness. Because if you no longer expect anything from someone, they cannot disappoint you. And when disappointment ends, suffering ends. At the Shaolin Temple, we do not train to avoid discomfort. We train to understand it. The body is placed in fire so that the mind becomes cool. In the same way, toxic people are the fire. But your task is to become the coolness. You do not need to burn just because someone else is on fire. Let them rage. You remain. The mirror becomes clear when you stop blaming the reflection. So the next time someone provokes you, ask not, why are they doing this? But what in me is still touched by this? That question leads to liberation. Because the moment you see the root of the reaction in yourself, the poison has no more grip. And from that space, you can finally let go not of them, but of the part of you that held on. Energy is everything. What you give, what you receive, and what you allow. Toxic people do not drain you because they are strong. They drain you because you are open to them. Energy, like water, flows to where there is space. So you must become like the sealed vessel, only open by conscious choice. This is not being closed. This is being wise. There is a difference. If your energy is leaking everywhere, into gossip, into judgment, into defending yourself, then it is no surprise. You feel tired, you feel heavy, but this tiredness is not from effort. It is from disconnection, from not guarding the gate. And so, the first act of true power is to say, I no longer allow my energy to be taken by what brings me no growth. This is how you become untouchable, not by avoiding life, but by becoming more selective in how you live it. There is a sacred boundary that every practitioner must build, not a wall around the heart, but a gate around the soul. Toxic people are not the problem. Unfiltered access is. Do not confuse kindness with availability. Kindness is your nature, but availability must be earned. When someone shows you disrespect, your silence is not acceptance. It is wisdom. You are choosing not to entertain what is beneath your path. So how do you apply this once and make it last? You choose once and for all that your energy is your temple. What enters must purify you, or it must stay out. This is not arrogance. It is spiritual hygiene. And like any temple, what is sacred must be protected. not through force, but through discipline. This is what makes you powerful, not your ability to fight, but your ability to protect peace. Every time we fight toxic people, we empower them. The more energy you give to something, the more it grows. Even your resistance becomes food for the negativity. But there is a different way. When you walk into a dark room, you do not fight the darkness, you light a lamp. In the same way, you do not need to confront toxic people. You simply rise above them by strengthening your own light. This means focusing less on what others are doing and more on who you are becoming. The more time you spend in judgment, the less time you spend in growth. So, you shift your attention inward. Ask yourself, what energy am I cultivating today? Peace, clarity, strength? These are the tools that make your presence like fire, calm, warm, but untouchable. When you carry that, darkness cannot remain. There is great power in presence. A tree does not shout, yet it changes the air around it. In the same way, your inner state changes the atmosphere. You do not need to argue to make a point. You do not need to shout to be heard. When your energy is clean, your presence speaks louder than your words. This is the way of the wise. This is the path of the disciplined mind. So the next time you are tempted to fight back, ask, am I lighting the lamp or wrestling with the shadow? One path leads to liberation, the other to endless cycles. Do this just once with full awareness, and you will never be the same again. Because once you choose light over resistance, toxic people no longer belong in your reality. They simply fade like shadows at dawn. Some people believe walking away is weakness, but in truth, it is one of the greatest acts of strength. When you walk away, not out of anger, but out of clarity, you show that you no longer require validation, conflict, or attention. You have seen through the illusion. You understand that staying where growth is no longer possible is the real loss. And so you level not to punish, but to protect. There is a silence more powerful than 1,000 words. It is the silence of self-respect. When you stop explaining, stop defending, stop negotiating with chaos, you show that your path is no longer entangled with theirs. You carry yourself with calm dignity. You do not slam the door, you simply close it. Quietly, permanently. In Shaolin teaching, we say, where the mind goes, the energy flows. If your mind is still circling around someone's negativity, you are still giving them life in your system. So walking away must be full, not just physical, but mental and emotional. No more checking, no more wondering, no more reacting. You are free when they no longer live in your head. And how do you walk away once so they never return? You do it with full awareness. You say to yourself, my peace is more important than this connection. You do not need applause. You do not need revenge. You just need truth. And the truth is, when you walk away with grace, the universe opens doors where there were only walls. But first, you must be willing to leave the noise behind. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. Toxic people may never apologize. They may never see the harm they caused. But holding on to that pain is like drinking poison and waiting for them to suffer. The moment you release that weight, your energy returns. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is remembering without pain. It is choosing not to carry what no longer serves your path. Many believe that forgiving someone means allowing them back in, but this is not true. Forgiveness does not require reconciliation. It only requires release. You can forgive and still walk away. You can forgive and still set boundaries. In fact, true forgiveness often ends with distance, not reunion, because peace is not found in fixing others, it is found in freeing yourself. In the Shaolin way, we train to let go of tension in the body. of thoughts in the mind, and of attachments in the heart. Forgiveness is the highest form of letting go. It is not weakness. It is transcendence. It says, I no longer need this pain to define me. I am more than this wound. And in that decision, the wound begins to heal, not because they changed, but because you did. So the act you must do once to free yourself forever is simple in words, but deep in practice. Forgive them and move on, not for their sake, but for your soul. You deserve to be light again. You deserve to be whole again. And no toxic person, no past mistake, no memory should have the power to keep you in pieces. The ultimate solution to toxic people is not confrontation, it is transformation. You do not fight the darkness. You build so much light in your life that they no longer fit. When your mind becomes focused, your goals become clear, your environment becomes clean, there is no room for chaos. Not because you banish them, but because they no longer resonate with your frequency. People are drawn to what matches their energy. When you are still wounded, they will find you. But when you heal, when you grow, when you cultivate inner peace, their chaos bounces off you. They no longer understand you. They no longer reach you. It is like trying to shout underwater. No matter how loud they scream, your world is now quiet. So you build, you train, you meditate, you read, you refine your circle, you refine your focus. This is the work, not dramatic, not emotional, but steady and sacred. You create a reality where only truth, depth, and clarity exist. And in that space, toxic energy feels out of place. It cannot live where it cannot feed. That is how you become untouchable, no, by pushing them out, but by rising above their reach. And the beauty is, you only have to decide this once. One decision to build a life of peace, discipline, and integrity. Just one. And from that decision, everything changes. Not because they changed, but because you did. And now they cannot find you in the place you have risen to. Imagine the mountain, unmoving, unshaken. The wind howls, the rain falls, but the mountain does not bend. This is your goal, not to stop people from being who they are, but to become so centered, so grounded, so complete within yourself that nothing outside can shake you. Toxic people will still exist, but you will have become the mountain, and the storm will pass right through. This is the secret. It's not about stopping them. It's about changing your relationship with yourself. When you respect yourself deeply, truly, you stop allowing others to disrespect you. Your silence becomes sacred. Your time becomes valuable. Your presence becomes rare. And toxic people who once thrived on your attention now find nothing left to take. At the heart of Shaolin wisdom is this teaching. Victory is not in defeating others. It is in mastering the self. So the one act that changes everything is not an outward action. It is the internal shift from reaction to stillness, from emotion to awareness, from trying to fix them to committing to your own path. Do this once, just once with full sincerity. Step into your center, withdraw your energy from what harms you, and stand like the mountain. The world may still move around you, but you calm, aware, rooted you will remain. And in that stillness, you will find the freedom you've always had waiting quietly inside.